Imagine walking into a room filled with people. One person answers every question without hesitation. Another quietly listens, thinking before every word. Most of us assume the confident person must be the smartest, but history and psychology tell a very different story. In fact, one of the strangest patterns in human behavior is this. The less people know, the more certain they often become. And the more someone truly understands, the more they begin to question themselves. Why? Why do brilliant people hesitate, while the least qualified often speak with absolute confidence? The answer might completely change how you judge intelligence. Imagine two people taking the same exam. The first finishes in 15 minutes. He walks out smiling. "I'm definitely getting a perfect score." The second spends an hour checking every answer, changing words, crossing things out, reading every question again. When the results arrive, the first person barely passes. The second gets almost every answer correct. Strange? Not really. Psychologists have observed this pattern for decades. People with limited knowledge often don't know what they don't know. Without realizing it, they overestimate themselves. Meanwhile, experts see complexity everywhere. Every answer creates another question. Every discovery reveals another mystery. Knowledge doesn't just give you answers, it also reveals the size of your ignorance. And that's exactly why intelligent people often appear less certain. Not because they're confused, but because they finally understand how complicated reality really is. Imagine knowledge as a mountain. At the bottom, the world looks simple. Everything feels obvious. Every problem seems easy to solve. Then you begin climbing. Suddenly, the horizon expands. New mountains appear. Questions multiply. You realize you've only explored a tiny corner of something much larger. This is what psychologists call the Dunning-Kruger Effect. People with little knowledge often lack the ability to recognize their own mistakes. Ironically, the very skills needed to become good at something are the same skills needed to realize you're not good at it yet. The smartest people aren't trapped by ignorance. They're surrounded by awareness, and awareness is heavy. Think about the people you admire most. Great scientists rarely claim to know everything. Great leaders asked questions before giving answers. Even Einstein once admitted that the more he learned, the more mysterious the universe became. Real intelligence isn't loud. It doesn't rush to prove itself. Because truly intelligent people know something most of us forget. Being wrong is expensive. Listening is free. That's why they pause, they observe, they think. Not because they're afraid to speak, but because they respect the complexity of reality. Confidence can be useful, but certainty can be dangerous. So, the next time someone speaks with absolute certainty, don't immediately assume they're the smartest person in the room. And if you constantly question yourself, that doesn't automatically mean you're insecure. It may simply mean you've learned enough to see how much remains unknown. Intelligence isn't measured by how quickly you answer. It's measured by how willing you are to keep learning. The smartest people don't spend their lives trying to sound intelligent. They spend their lives trying to become less wrong. Maybe the moment you started doubting yourself wasn't the moment you became weaker. Maybe it was the moment you finally started thinking.